worked on Transformers, and believe it or not, part of my job was to help audition the voices for the actors that you're going to see in the next couple of seconds. So without further ado, what I meant by that is I was probably the first person in America to actually hear the voices of Optimus Prime and Megatron. So what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce Peter Cullen and Frank Welker. Give it up for them. Welcome to Rhode Island.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you very much.
Very good. Welcome, welcome. All right, want to have a seat? I'm not used to doing panels like this. By the way, this is only the second time I've moderated a panel. So bear with me. So what I'd like to do is we're going to start this afternoon by having both actors. I like to start things from the beginning. So let's start from the beginning with Peter and Frank. What got you into being voice actors?
The ad in the paper?
He was looking at you.
Yeah, he was looking at you. Okay then. Actually, it's a semi-long story. I'll try to make it not quite so long, but when I was a kid, I found that, okay, it is going to be a little long, isn't it? When I was a little kid, actually I knew from the very beginning I wanted to be in show business. And I found that a way to get attention when I was a kid was running through the house naked. And I kept it up until about 22. Then I knew it was time for a change. But actually, I always wanted to be in the business, and I thought I'd like to be a very dramatic actor and all this. And I went out and I got into college, got into plays, and I met a gal who said, "You should do commercials." And I said, "Okay." And she sent me to her agent, and I went out on an audition and got the first one. I thought, oh, this is really easy. Little did I know, about 12 more auditions after that before I got another, but I worked all through college, did plays, then started doing stand-up comedy, and started doing some television shows and a couple of films, and along the way in this stand-up comedy I was doing my act at a club, and I did a lot of dogs and cats and noises, and this particular night I was doing a dog and cat fight, and this fellow from an ad agency was casting Frisky's dog food commercial. Right down my alley. So I'm up there, whoop! Very sophisticated comedy. And he cast me in this Frisky's dog food commercial. And so that was literally my first voice commercial. And then he said, in fact I remember at the time, he says, "Would you like to do a voiceover?" And I thought, is it legal? And then also his fiance worked for ABC, and they were casting a show called Scooby-Doo. So she said, "We'd really like you to come in and read for Scooby-Doo." So I called my agent, and I said, "This gal said that I should call you, and you should send me to Hanna-Barbera." And my agent says, "Oh, no, we've already done that. All of our people have gone over there. Nah, just forget about it." So I did. I forgot about it. But she had my number, called me home. She says, "Where were you?" I said, "Well, my agent said, forget about it. How do you get over here?" So I went over to Hanna-Barbera and read with Casey Kasem and Don Messick and all these wonderful, wonderful actors, and ended up getting the part of Freddie Jones, and that was 45 years ago. And last Wednesday, we just recorded another show, so that show's been going for 45 years. And now I'm lucky enough to do the part of Scooby-Doo. I'm very, very happy to be Scooby-Dooby-Doo. And believe it or not, that was the short version. Peter. Wow.
Now you know why I refer to him always everywhere I go as the king. He is. I could get more sophisticated and say it in French, le roi. Or to shorten that, Roy. I have to tell you something interesting that just happened a couple of hours ago when we finished in the other room. We went out to have something to eat, corn chowder or something, and he's sitting there, and he starts doing an impression of Julia Childs. And for those who don't know who Julia Childs is, she is a very famous chef, and unique, with great, great history. She was actually a spy during the Second World War. Well, lots of people did not know that. And now they do. I started to laugh after a spoon of corn chowder. And he's done this to me in the studio many years ago, where he made me laugh while I was about ready to deliver a line, and I had just taken a sip of water, and I exploded, and the water came down through my nose, and this is what almost happened today, the corn chowder almost. But that's what this man can do to me, very easily. That's why he is the king. Roy? I mean, am I supposed to answer a question? I forget.
I love to distract
I wanted to
him. He has
know
no idea what we're
what
talking about.
what inspired you to become a voice actor?
I think the honest answer to that is I could always make noises and sounds. And when I was in grade school, I even impersonated our teachers. When I came to Hollywood, I realized I was never as good as Frank. And thank God, because I had some Shakespearean training, and I figured, serious acting, I wouldn't have to compete with this guy. And holy crow, We ended up on that first show called Mighty Man and Yuck. I was Mighty Man and he was Yuck. And that was the beginning of many, many years of gratification to have the opportunity to meet the greatest voice in the world. My propensity for sounds and voices created a sense of, I guess, acceptance, attention. Everybody loves attention, and you'll do anything for it sometimes. People that are funny have a leg up, because if they can make somebody laugh, it's not only gratifying, but you're getting the attention at the same time. So it gave me little to think about, when you start making your decisions about life. Becoming a farmer kind of disappeared real quick, although I love farming. And I just did what my heart told me to do, and that was do what you love best, do what you love. And if you're good at it, you'll just get better. And so it started when I was very, very young.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Thank you.
When as I said earlier, I worked on the Transformers toy brand for a while, and I got to listen to their audition tapes, which sent to us on the little cassette tapes, and I'd rush to my office and pop them in and listen to them. And part of my job was to make recommendations, because we get a bunch of these tapes from different actors, and part of my job was to make recommendations and which voices I like. We'd usually get 3 samples of different actors. Now, to me, they could have been all the same actor. You guys could have submitted 3 different voices. I never would have known. But what I want to know is, how did you get inspiration to provide voices for non-human or not even living things really, but like Transformers. They were vehicles, they were robots in disguise. So what gave you the inspiration to come up with the voices for the characters that you lent your voices to? Peter, I mean, talk to us a little bit about what inspired you to come up with the voice for Optimus?
Well, number one, they may have been robots, but they were written as characters. They weren't silly little animals. They were, for all intent and purpose, human beings in a metal suit.
Okay.
But in my case, and I've told this story as recent as yesterday, I was told to go to this audition, and at the time I was living with my brother Larry, who was a captain in the Marine Corps at the time. He had returned from Vietnam. He was saw combat, came home with a Bronze Star with B, a couple of Purple Hearts, saw brutal action. And we had grown up together, 13 months apart, and he was my hero, no question. 6 inches taller, played professional football. There was nothing he couldn't do. He flew airplanes to the Arctic, twin engines in worst conditions. He taught school. He was a master carpenter, a stockbroker at one time, a great writer, and he ultimately was just my hero. And I was living with him at the time, going through a transition in my life. Often I would go out to an audition and he'd say, "Peter, where are you going?" We had the same vocal range somewhat. He said, "I'm off to an audition, Bob Lloyd's." He tells me it's another place. It's a very long time ago. There's 10 seats for you. Anyway, he asked me where I was going, and I said, "I'm going to audition." "What are you going to audition for, Pete?" And I said, "A truck." And he laughed pretty much like that. He just shook his head. "Oh boy." I said, "No, hey, look, but Larry, he's a hero. He's a hero. Truck, it's a hero." And his whole demeanor just changed, and his face got, a little serious. He said, "Peter, if you're going to be a hero, be a real hero. Don't play one of those Hollywood plastic yelling and screaming on tough guys that can't even come close to it. Be strong enough to be gentle, be compassionate, have some dignity. Show your courage through understanding. Just don't be screaming and yelling and pretending you're tough." The voice just hung in me. We were standing right outside the front door of this apartment. And I said, "Oh, okay, Larry, that's a lot to think about." Anyway, I got in the car and I was driving, and I could just hear his voice. And I could imagine him as a Marine, a second lieutenant in Vietnam, under those horrible conditions. And I just said, boy, whew. I got in and I looked at the script, and the first words were, "My name is Optimus Prime. I'm from the planet Cybertron. Our planet," and I went in, I was just, this voice of Larry just came right up and through my brain and out my mouth. And I walked out and I said, "Wow, I nailed it." But the reason I felt that I nailed it, I felt I nailed it for Larry. I felt I nailed Larry, I said, if Larry had been there, he would have said, "Really good, Pete. That was good. That was good." Anyway, I came home and I told them that I think I may have got the job. I'm not sure, but if they don't pick me, they're fools. 2 weeks later, I found out I got the part. I thank you.
Can you give us a little background as to what inspired you to come up with some of the...
Yes, but first, just to add a little bit to what Peter said, because that's absolutely true, and it's such a beautiful story, and there's more to it. But I want to say one thing, and you can probably answer this, because the voice that he does for Optimus Prime, Larry, was exactly that voice. And when we do shows, you've got directors, you've got writers, you've got producers, you've got studio people, and everybody wants to fiddle with your character. Everybody sees it a little different way, as you should. I mean, it's your football, you kind of change. They didn't touch him one single bit, and you can attest to that.
Absolutely. I mean, that was the voice.
And the reason is because it comes from his soul, and that to me is Optimus Prime.
Great.
My story is a little bit more prosaic. Actually, I was trying to come up with something different and unique from the pictures that I saw, the drawings that were out there. And I'd had this character and various sounds that I'm doing. Everything, you try to be different than other actors, and sometimes it comes from within, and that transcends everything. And sometimes you manufacture the sounds. Well, when I looked at Megatron, I thought, well, he looks like he's in pain and anger, and there's so much going on there, so if I could add like some layers instead of just going, I am Hero. Like multiple layers of voices. Notice I used to say, and I said this yesterday too, but I used to have what I call the cave of winds. So it sounded like maybe there's 15 people in there. Let us out of here! We can't stand Frank's story! But anyhow, so I took some of that and then put a little bass to it. I am Megatron, leader of the Decepticons. And now through time, that character's actually evolved out of where it was based on what the needs are now. With the CGI Transformers Prime show, they wanted a little bit different take, so you keep the basis for it. And he's here, but the nerve is hard getting into this range. A little different sounding. And then we get into the motion picture. And now he becomes Galvatron. Even better and even more bass. And I love doing Galvatron.
Very good, very good. So here's another thing that's been like floating around my brain when we were developing the toys and proposal to do the TV series. At that time, I mean, the animation involved funny animals, animation involved maybe human superheroes. What did you guys think when you first saw this? Well, first of all, what did you see from Hasbro in terms of reference material, and what did you think?
Well, like like I was saying, when we auditioned, there was a lot of drawings.
Drawings. Okay, that's what I was trying to get to. You know, what is it that you saw?
Sketches.
Yeah. Okay.
Sketches. Yeah. And that was pretty much what we're going on for the auditions, which is sketches, and a little bit of verbal input from the director. So, and that was another thing I was very happy about is Megatron never changed for my audition either. They never said, do this or do that, or which I was really pleased, but I think it's just because they're so busy.
Yeah.
We didn't have time to fiddle with it. But I think that was probably, you know, then we have the story from the script, but basically I think that's all we have is sketches.
The sketch, the sketch with a little bit of character breakdown.
Okay.
And so you get an idea, okay, he's like Ironhide, you know, ready to, you know, pop off at any second. You know? So I'm just trying to think, what would a guy say? Oh, come on, I want to kick some butt. Ready to fly off the handle. And when you look at Ironhide when he's not transformed from his van, you look at this huge creature, you know, and then Anyway, I just figured, well, it would be a contrast between Prime and Ironhide, and then I did some other characters, I don't know, but I ended up with two roles. And you just say, okay, a guy that's going to fly off at the handle, I figured it's going to be a guy that's always, it's going to be gruff, and he's going to be, oh, gee whiz, come on, Prime, let's get in there and do something. I'm getting tired of this, Prime, leaking oil. So, aside from those little drawings of him, you know, standing as a robot and then back to the vehicle, that's all we really had. Really didn't know much.
It amazes me that you're able to put that much interpretation into these toys.
You know,
But we were
maybe-
excited by the sheer fact that it was never been done.
No, they were
This is
different,
unique, you know.
very
I said,
different.
wow.
That was fun to see because, you know, all the other stuff we were doing, there was nothing like it. So we walked into something new, and that was really fun.
It was a revolution. It wasn't. Yes, indeed.
I'll ask you a question.
Okay.
Because when you have all of these Transformers, and you were in that position, that you had to look at these and pick those voices, what were you looking for? Were you looking for something different? Or were you looking for to try to orchestrate these voices so they had a kind of sound like Optimus was this way, and this was this way?
Well, I think that's a very good question, because it
course
ties
it
into
is.
because it ties into it's kind of the flip of what I asked you guys.
Yes.
In other words, what we would do is we had the sketches. We actually had some preliminary toys, physical three-dimensional toys, and then we had Marvel Comics biographies or bios of the characters. So we knew, or I knew, or the people I worked with, wasn't just me, it was a team of us. We knew what we were kind of looking for. You know, it was easy to do like an Optimus or a Megatron. I mean, you knew what those characters, in your head anyway, you could imagine who they were going to sound like. I mean, they were going to be the big leaders, bold, deep voices. But when it came to some of those other characters, you know, it was like, okay, what does Bumblebee sound like? You know, or, you know, Starscream. What does Starscream sound like? And so we were just looking for something different. You know, we were trying to say, because you didn't want all the voices to be the same, obviously. You wanted characterization. And it's people like you that provided that.
You got them.
We've got a couple of characters up here on stage. Now, so that brings up another question. You guys are playing well off each other here on stage. When I've seen animation, current animation, like they go behind the scenes for the Disney animation, and you see the actors, the movie star actors that we're familiar with on the big budget movies go in and do voices. It seems like they're there by themselves doing the voice at the microphone. How did you guys work? How did did it work as part of this? Did you guys work like what I think of as a radio drama, where several people were in the studio together and bouncing off each other?
We all worked together.
Okay, good. So
there may have been 14 guys.
really,
Sure. All in a row, facing the glass to the director. And that was the magic about it, is because the very first production, you remember when you had never heard any of the other character voices, and we're reading the script for the first time. And we're all looking at each other.
did that.
Where did that?
Yes.
Was that you, Frank?
No, that was you.
I'm old, I forget.
But yeah, that is magical when you're, and we're doing it now more often than not. We go in individually, which is not as much fun. But you know, there's a viability in terms of speed, or if you're doing a character that hurts your throat a lot, you concentrate on it and get it done. But when you're doing an ensemble piece, like with the cast, and Transformers Prime was the last time we got to work together, ensemble, and there's a great joy in that because it's like doing a play. You know, it's just, you're not in costume, but you're in head in your costume.
Sure.
But playing off of each other, I think you get a little bit more momentum. I know Peter and I do. When we get our characters going, they're characters. They're no longer Peter and Frank.
So since we have the hero and the villain on stage here, what was
Which one is which?
what was it like to battle one another in the studio? What was that like?
Sometimes it was hysterical. Because he could crack me up so easily. You know, the fighting stuff is always afterwards. You're making the sounds, and the director's going to ask you, give me some higher, give me some oops, you're getting punched, now you're getting a punch, oh, you're really getting hurt. You know, it's called, then we get into the walla walla. But it's exhausting, you know. So fortunately, we don't have to do that, you know, while we're acting out. It's hard to say, you know, Megatron, you know, you will not, no, that's somebody else. That was
Don't hurt my feelings. Is somebody else? Yes, there's somebody else. I thought I was your only villain. No, I find out there's somebody else.
Oh, where was the hell?
But we fiddle around a lot when the director doesn't know. You know. But when we get rolling and feeding off each other's dialogue, you know, the intensity and the anger and everything, I mean, it really is fun. It's just like, I mean, you're playing with the best. And to hear that voice, and I have no idea where that comes from. It starts down there and it just... So, I mean, it's fun to react to that.
You should talk. Look at you. You must have head cavities the size of milking pails.
Is that a compliment?
The sounds that come out of your head. Oh, much less your mouth.
You mean snoring?
Oh, the vibration. You shake.
Oh, that's when I dance.
Oh, man.
You don't want to hear about my dancing. Yeah, we do. Oh, you do? Okay. Well, I was at the Waldorf. No, but I think really the most fun is ensemble. But also, I know I used to do, I'm not doing as much as I used to, but in the old days I did a lot of looping to films, creatures and that's always by yourself. And now when we do the films, well actually when we do the features, that's by yourself. Yeah. Could you answer that for me? Tell them I'm a little late, I'm doing a very important show! You're listening, on your phone.
So now that's another question that, you know, as I'm thinking of it here, and I know I'm supposed to work off a script of questions, but here's another one that kind of has always intrigued me. Would you see the animation as you were voicing? So you were actually just doing the voicing off scripts without seeing animation necessarily?
Well, for the television series?
Yeah, that's
We never saw any.
so you never saw any of the...
But the film
Yeah.
and all the roles that Frank does, you know, when he's looping, he's seeing screen because he has to lip, he has to sync.
Right.
And but doing the film, you're working pretty much to either a pencil sketch,
Which is
a rough draft, or finished product. They're always at a different stage. And it's always a lot better when you're actually seeing the finished product.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's why my respect or admiration for the way you guys added voices to these characters goes up even more, because you didn't see anything moving. So.
Well, I know, and I know Peter's experienced this too on a lot of features. There's one I did, Aladdin is a good example. That was over a period of about 3 years. Yeah. So the first time you go in, and I was doing Abu the Monkey, and they just have sketches on easels. And I said, okay, Abu starts here, he jumps up on the thing, then he's scared, and he runs over here, and then he jumps up on Prince's shoulder, and then he's up on. So you do a take of that and trying to imagine what's happening between easels, you know, as he's jumping and going and going and going. And that to me is the hardest. And like Peter says, the easiest and the most fun, really enjoyable, is when you see the finished product. And then you can just go with it, you know, and you can add stuff in and drop it in. But they get a basic track, and then they animate to that, and they come back with half film, half sketch, and all that. But the final is the most fun.
And especially if there's music.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I thought I'd mention
Yeah, so
music. Yeah.
did you do a musical? No.
So Frank, in just looking at some of the characters that you've done, and obviously Transformers, but talk to us a little bit more about some of the other more lighthearted characters you might have done in the past. Scooby-Doo, obviously one, but talk to us about some of your other favorites.
Well, I really enjoyed doing Garfield the Cat.
Oh, one of my favorites.
Well, it's really good because there's so much energy involved. You know, you gotta get up, and the first thing you do is you go for a nice hot plate of lasagna. Then you get up and you take a nap. And then you gotta have some more lasagna so that you can have dinner. And then take a nap so you can get a good night's sleep. Needless to say, it's one of my favorites. I don't have to work so hard. And
I bet you like lasagna.
my friend Eeyore.
Yeah. Not that anybody cares, mind you.
Yes, we do. Is that not a great voice?
In the car, he was doing his cat, and I was doing the donkey. And he kept on saying this thing about lasagna. Now, is that, I mean, did you just make that up, or was that?
No, that's Ben's the show.
He
loves it.
You know, I haven't seen enough.
Can you believe that?
I really do. Anyway.
Optimus Prime doesn't watch.
No, he does, yes. Always. But I just thought I'd throw in Eeyore, and, you know, just say he likes lasagna. Yeah. Not that anybody else likes lasagna, but he likes lasagna.
And I like you. So can I come over to your house and eat some lasagna?
I got vessels.
Thistles?
Yeah, vessels.
I clean my teeth with thistles.
After the lasagna.
I love you,
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So Peter, I think to everyone here, I mean, you are Optimus. You played Optimus. I didn't realize this. You played Optimus in the animation, obviously. I didn't realize you did the voice of Optimus for the films.
Optimus who?
Optimus Prime.
You said something else.
No, I said Optimus.
I play Optimus.
I said Optimus. In the films.
Yes.
I didn't realize that you had done that.
Where have you been for the last? Come on, Kurt.
I don't feel so bad now.
This is going to sound even worse. I didn't realize you did the voice in the video game either.
You don't get out to LA too often, do you?
No, I don't.
Well, I want you to stay at my house.
I'll take you up on that.
I've got pictures from Astro. Things you've never seen before.
The reason I ask is,
Okay.
did you ever expect this character to endure as long as he has?
No. Well, especially after the feature film, the animated film in 1986.
Right. Which brings up another question. Okay, go ahead.
First one's first, because Frank and I worked with Orson Welles on that picture. And we were intimidated, of course, and that is a story unto itself. And I might.
Why don't you go into it then?
Well, we were sitting nearby each other, and I was going through the script, and I was writing through. And actors often, go through the script, and they see their character, and they circle it, and you see it again, circle it, turn the page, circle it, circle it. Well, I had been circling mine, and all of a sudden I didn't see anything after page 17. I turned all of that. Gotta be in here somewhere. Maybe I've got the last line, and then I went back and to where I ended off, and I read it, and it says, Optimus Prime death scene. Oh, Lord. Frank, are you, page 17, turn over, he goes, ooh.
Have you been parking in the director's parking spot?
Must have. Anyway, I looked at it and I said, I was kind of stunned, I said, well, back in those days, a job was a job, and you went on to the next one. I was never working as much as Frank did. Frank had one time, and one day, I think he had nine cartoon series to do in one day, all different series in one day. 12?
But who's going?
Well, but you always figured you're as good as your last job. At least that's what an actor would think. If you get run off a show, the first instinct is to say, boy, my character must have been really bad. I must have. You don't know because you don't get fan mail. We never really get fan mail. No thermometer to judge the popularity by any means. And so you just assume the worst, and you're hurt. I was sad. And I said, get on with your life, Next day, audition, different job, get it out of your mind. And then 15 years later, feature film. And Michael Bay called me up, and agents called up and said, Michael Bay wants to see you. I said, for what? To read the part of Optimus Prime. I said, again? Anyway, I auditioned 2 more times, and finally, and I will say this, it was the tenacity of the fan base of Generation 1, and the love I have for the fan base is now we've been family for a long time, and I never fail to recognize the bond that we have together that goes back so many years. And I'm so grateful for you guys and gals. I'm really grateful. I love you.
See, in comic books, when they kill a character off, you know the character's going to come back maybe in another 9 months or a year. It took 15 years for Optimus Prime to come back. But we're glad he did. We're glad he did. Okay, I guess we're going to close to wrapping up, but what I wanted to know is, who are some of the more popular characters you guys played that you wouldn't mind playing again, reprising a role, if you can think of any of those? Or just, who were some of the characters over the course of your career that you truly enjoyed? I mean, I'm guessing I can, based on who you performed on stage, I can guess who they are, but are there some others that, you know, you really got a kick out of playing?
I remember playing the King of the World. Oh! No, I'm sorry. I was thinking about Peter's career. I'm sorry. I like Slimer. Oh, yay! And Curious George. You know, I think Peter will agree, but it's just such a joy to be in this business where you have a huge palette of all kinds of characters, and even the incidentals, whether they be a king or a taxi driver. I mean, some of those can be the absolute most fun, even though it's not a lasting character. So I just think we're just so lucky to have, like, say, the ability or the option, or the opportunity. It's coming. It'll take me a while, you know. I majored in the gym and I only got through the 6th grade, so give me some time. But to have the opportunity to play all different kinds of roles is a real treat. That's my sloppy answer. I'm sticking with it.
Kirk, I think the only way to respond to that is by saying the characters that made people happy are the characters that made me happy. And the characters that had fun, and the characters that could, you know, get a laugh out of somebody. There is nothing quite like being in a session with a whole group of talented actors, and if you can make them laugh, you know, it's hard to imagine you're getting paid.
Yeah.
You know, they're actually paying me to do this? Oh, sometimes you can be naive, you know. But nonetheless, it's always that sense of what people do to make you laugh, and that's where the joy comes in. You love your work. That's the most important thing in all of life, is to love what you do.
I couldn't agree more, and you guys certainly epitomize that. You can sense it being here on stage with you guys. So I look out in the audience, I see some young people in the audience. What advice would you have for anyone who might want to become a voice actor? Do you have any?
Well, just in terms of technology, there's so much out there now that you could play with to test and practice your voices. But early on, I would say try and get your hands on books and just read and read and read and read. To me, that's one of the most important things you can do, because not only does it give you the ability to read words, but also it gives you ideas, and it gives you a tremendous resource to draw on when you need it. So I think reading is good, and then when you really want to get in the business and read aloud, read commercials. For a while, I think everybody starts out by impersonating other characters and voices, and then develop your own. And like Peter says, if you love it and you're good at it, nobody can stop you. So enjoy. Just go for it.
I learned from a line in one of the scripts in Transformers, and it was sent to me by a young boy who did not live long enough to complete the stitching of Optimus Prime's all-out figure. But his wish was to be able to have his dream line on the bottom of this picture of Optimus Prime. And the line was, I said it once in one show, hold on to your dreams. The future is built on dreams. And that stuck with me forever. And that was his line that he wanted to be remembered by for everybody else. And so I give that as my little adage, you know, hold on to your dreams, the future, your future is built on dreams. So, hope that answers.
Great, great. I can't think of a better way to Gail and Gordon for coming, and I want to say thank you to these guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.